could go beyond just the 2 weeks. So like the learning includes like some lessons from us, coding sessions, workshops, discussions, and guest speakers. And then after the output is the output, which is 1 to 2 weeks of creation, which include research papers, presentation, posters, videos, projects, other forms of output that can show what you learned. And it will be published through CAIVO's website and Instagram and YouTube. So that way you can say that you've had your work published before.
Okay, this is our icebreaker slide, so we want everyone to participate right now. So, oftentimes we see these kinds of posters, pictures in our society about how AI is harming our cognition, and we really want you all to defend or refute this claim.
You
You
guys,
can either turn on your microphone or speak in the chat.
we can give you guys like 1 to 2 minutes to like write down like a good solid claim or like write down some evidence points you need to talk about. So we give you guys like a couple minutes, and like officers can also debate on this and question stuff to really get the discussion going.
And remember, there's no right or wrong answer to this. As long as you have
Yes.
evidence, your answer is technically right because it's highly subjective.
But we'll give you guys about a few minutes, and then we'll come back on. We'll give you guys about 1 or 2 minutes left to finalize your evidence and talking points, and then we'll have one member start, and then officers can kind of add their comments and stuff afterwards.
Can all our general members please put this on our? Can everyone please put their cameras on because this video will be on the website and stuff. So.
can put your cameras, if you
Yes.
can put your cameras on, that'd be like helpful to us because like when we put this recording on like our website and on YouTube and stuff, we really want to show some participation and stuff. So just like, or just like talk a lot, either one, just like so like you're like participating and stuff. All right, thanks. All right, so we'll have one member start with their evidence. Either you defend or refute that statement. Anyone can start.
I mean, I can start since I was the first one to write a message in the chat.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I think that AI does close to no harm to students since it's just an invention that makes it easier to access and synthesize information into meaningful data. Therefore, it is just a tool, and saying that it harms students is the same as saying that an electrical hammer harms handymen, since they don't hammer that much as they used to without this tool. So these are my points.
Okay. I also agree with you, Iskander, because in the words of Mr. Campomi, who is England teacher at AKHS R2Cal, really AI is like a tool for students, right? It's not really like this thing that like can really harm a student's brain and like how they think and stuff. It's more of like a secondary teacher. It can be like a really good tool to teach stuff as like a tutor. It's like very much a tool and like an assistive kind of guide for people to use in their like schoolwork and other things. So I think it's more of like an addition to like a teacher than it is harming someone's cognitive learning.
That said, it is also important for us to be mindful that we can misuse AI and and offload all of our cognitive thinking and assignments and everything to AI and just make it do everything for us. And that is harmful behavior because in that way we're just not learning anything.
Yeah, that's a good point. I agree with it because every tool can be misused.
But yeah, AI itself isn't wrong in any way. It's just a tool.
Oh
As a
yes,
sign.
you wanted to share your opinion?
Yeah, I said that I think AI is not harming student cognition to a great extent because I feel like at the end of the day, it is up to you in terms of how you use AI, right? And I think that AI can, in fact, be used in ways that improve cognition. And there are like many study apps online that are used, and they're like mainly marketed based off of their use for AI and how like they rely on artificial intelligence and like guidance from LLMs in order to like create resources and quiz people and like fit like in terms of how a person wants to learn, right? Like they can create a personalized coach, and that's also one of the biggest ways that AI is kind of used as a way to study. And I think that the creation of this personalized mentor for you really allows like you to improve your own cognition too. But like obviously it's up to how you use it and how that impacts how your cognition improves, right?
I agree with you, and this is actually one of the core principles of CAIVO organization since we use AI in the right fields and prevent misuse of it.
I I would actually I kind of feel that AI in like schools and in education really kind of it hurts student cognition. So really like kind of the opposite of what y'all have been saying. And that's I think it's mainly because of how when you have sort of this kind of technology which can kind of learn and quote unquote evolve, meaning that it can like think almost for its own using the information, it's not really much of an information gatherer, more of something that like a tool that can create responses or that can be generative too. And a lot of that leads into misuse. But also on top of that, it also distracts from like the true like purpose of learning. I mean, I feel that as students, we should be relying more on our teachers and our school for like learning or personalized coaching, or for example at AK, the after school tutoring sessions that our teachers provide, and less so on AI. And I think it's because like teachers have that experience necessary. And as students, we might feel that it's just easier to offload all of our work into AI. And that's, in fact, like one of my Mr. Campomi, my AP English Lang teacher, is thinking of banning like technology, like any sort of Chromebook use next year in Lang, like at all, because technology is so distracting. And if we think about AI, which is more than just technology, but something that can like think on its own, I think it just goes to show how harmful AI can be.
I agree with your points. They are valid. And the thing is, you said that AI thinks. We're going to learn about this in this meeting, how it actually works. And basically, its core units, which are artificial neurons. So you're going to learn more about this today.
Is anyone else interested in responding, or should we move
Oh,
on?
Christine, I see your hand is raised.
Yes, please talk.
You can go ahead.
Okay, I think that I don't think it's harming student cognition. For me personally, as someone interested in software engineer, I really like enjoy using AI to help explain certain coding concepts. And it's a lot easier to like just ask follow-up questions immediately than have to wait for like a person to respond or a teacher.
Anyone want
Great
to add
point.
to that?
Yeah. Oh, you wanted to add to that?
What?
Evan,
Vidushan,
you
wait till
wanted
you want
to
to
add?
add to it?
Oh,
Sorry. Vidushan, wait till you want to add to that? Or Max, or whoever's in here.
I was gonna say it depends on how you use AI, because as mentioned before, I think a lot of students just use it as a way to like get most of their work done for like quick and easy access. Like they don't do a lot of the actual thinking. So I think that like AI can be beneficial for like depending on how you use it, but there is like a lot of misuse happening because of AI, and a lot of like students, they just like use it to get the answer but not like actually like think about like how to like solve like certain problems or anything like that. They don't really think about the process, but more on just like finding the answer quickly.
Yeah, to like add on to what Anvita was saying, like I think a lot of people think of AI just as generative, like I think there's other forms that can be used for better, but I think just using generative AI to honestly just finish your assignments is like not good for your cognition because you're not working towards your answer. But I feel like there you can create like AI agents and stuff that can aid you in like improving your own cognition and teaching you things.
I mean, yeah, it just really depends on how you use it, I think.
Yeah.
All right, next slide.
okay. So now we're gonna introduce the whole concept of neural networks, and we'll teach you the basics of them. To start with, we have a real neuron. And Evan, would you like to explain how a real neuron works?
Yeah, so a biological neuron, which is basically what's in our brains right now, receives the information from many other neurons through structures called dendrites, right? These inputs can be thought of as incoming signals, right, or stimuli, right? So the neuron cell body, which is called the soma, this basically combines all those signals together, And if enough stimulation is received and the threshold is reached, the neuron fires an electric impulse called an action potential down its axon. Now, this is how like a real neuron works, and it's very similar to actual AI neuron. So we'll see more of that in like the next couple of slides.
So artificial neuron. Artificial neuron is also called perceptron. It just mimics this pipeline. It takes numerical inputs just as real neuron takes electrical signals, and it scales them using its own synaptic importance, which are simply called weights in the neuron structure. And it shifts this threshold baseline by a certain value, which is just called bias. And then it applies a certain function to simulate the threshold needed for the neuron to fire. Artificial neuron is the fundamental computational unit of any neural network. Again, it's called perceptron. In a neuron, there are inputs, which are features or upstream activations of it. There are weights, which are connections, which scale the input strength. And there's also a bias, which is a shift from the baseline activation level. I'm gonna share the board with you so you would see better.
You think you'll have time to do it within 1 minute, or do you want to switch over to the?
Let's just go to another presentation. So
yes, everyone please check the chat and use the
there's a link to the next presentation and the password.
We apologize for that, guys. We're gonna try to find a better application to have more time. So if everyone can just join what I posted in the chat, I'll start letting you guys into that. Thanks. All right, I think you're good to start.
Yeah, yes, I will start.
Yeah.
You make sure you're recording. So we have we've ended the previous meeting with the concept of an artificial neuron, which is used in neural networks. You can think of it as a mathematical function, which let's call it f. Wait, let's call it f. It takes a certain number of inputs. So x0, x1, and xn. Can you see the board?
Yep.
Okay, so it takes a certain number of inputs and it performs certain calculations, certain algebraic functions to it to transform it into new outputs. In usual neural networks, this function is simply a linear function, which is w times x plus b. W are weights I described earlier, which scale the input by a certain value. So basically, take the input and multiply it. Then
Iskander, just one thing.
yeah.
Can we please go back to the slides for this explanation, because we have some slides dedicated to weights and biases and the function.
Mhm.
I think we
Yeah.
should go through those first.
We should start from them.
Yes.
Okay. So that's how the structure of an artificial neuron mimics a normal neuron. It takes several inputs, just like normal neurons take inputs using dendrites, like Evan explained earlier, and then it produces certain outputs.
We will be explaining how this function works right now. So please go to the. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So
no, go
this
to
is
the
a basic. What?
The slide before that.
Slide before that. Oh
Yes.
yeah, weights and biases.
Okay, so weights can be thought of as measures of importance. Every input entered in as a neuron is multiplied by weight, and that weight determines how strongly the input influences the output. If a weight has a larger value, the network pays more attention to that input. If the weight is very small, the input has less influence. Now, during training, the network continuously adjusts these weights to improve its predictions and reduce mistakes. Now, for example, imagine we are training an AI model to identify whether an email is spam. Words like free, discount, or winner might eventually receive stronger weights because they're often associated with spam mails and stuff. Meanwhile, less informative words might receive smaller weights. Biases serve a different purpose. A bias acts like an adjustment factor that shifts the output of a neuron, even when the inputs themselves are small or absent. They sort of help us to more so augment a human neuron, because we often have biases. Uh, Essentially, without a bias, the function would always be forced to pass through the origin. And if we add a bias, it lets us to modify that. Please go to the next slide. I explain the function now. Mm-hmm. So at its core, this function over here, this is basically just y equals mx plus b, which we have all learned in algebra 1, I guess. So x is basically the a l minus 1. Now, that's the input from the previous layer. Because these are neural networks, they're often like a function whose output goes into another function, and so on and so on. So rather than just calling it x, we call them a